But actually, what I've got to say this morning is very, very important. But I changed my speech overnight because I wanted to start off by really talking about the Farnborough Air Show, in particular reference to what I've got to say this morning. Because from my point of view, yesterday was a remarkable first day. In fact, I think in the history of the time that I've been coming to Farnborough Air Show, which is probably more years than I care to remember, I can't remember the fact that we've had so much support from the government than we had yesterday. In fact, I think it was quite a remarkable and unique day in the history of Farnborough. Not only do we have a Prime Minister who actually opened the show, but we also had a Prime Minister and a Secretary of State from Vince Cable making some very, very important statements about not only the current situation in aerospace and defence, but also an important commitment to the future of aerospace and defence. I think a number of points that were made by David Cameron. First of all, an open support and endorsement of the Aerospace Growth Partnership, which is absolutely fundamental for the future of the aerospace industry. Actually, a support for investment in skills, which is what I'm going to talk about this morning. And secondly, I think a commitment which was endorsed by Vince Cable last night about the involvement and continued involvement and the growth path for the defence industry. So not only were we talking about the growth potential in the civil and commercial market, but we're also talking about the potential growth in the military and defence market. Very, very important messages that were said. In fact, I think, as I said, Cameron opened the show yesterday, endorsed by Vince Cable, and then of course you heard what Willett said this morning. I think we've never had that sort of profile for many, many years. So I think it puts us in a unique position. And of course, Farnborough is quite a unique aviation show. The red arrows that you see here is usually a show highlight. But we've got to take into context the fact that the red arrows, which of course is the BAE Hawk jet, could be the last fixed-wing military aircraft that's actually manufactured in the UK. So how does the UK continue to have such a vibrant aerospace sector, rated as second only to the USA in the world? And more importantly, how do we actually maintain that position? Well, we operate in a truly international marketplace, and those of you who know me will know that I say this many, many times indeed. We are dealing in a truly international market. And the barriers for entry to this market are, of course, high. We continue to be the leading player in certain areas like engines, wings, and, of course, avionics. And these technologies take years to develop and perfect, and they rely on a high level of technical skills. Aircraft themselves are now more complex, and even the largest developed nations rely on their international supply chain. The Boeing 787, for instance, features components not only from the US, but from the UK, Europe, and the Far East. China's new indigenous airliner, the C919, a prestige national project for the Chinese, features UK and other Western companies involved in their manufacture. Airbus now has a dedicated production line in China. And Canada's C-Series features Chinese and Italian firms involved in the major structural components. The Typhoon development, a truly European collaboration program, results in exports for the UK and its supply chain. My own company, Selex Galileo, and indeed Marshalls, are lead contractors for Euroradar and Eurodast components in the consortia producing the Captor Fire Control Radar and the Praetorian Defensive Aid Suite for the Eurofighter Typhoon. And it was increasingly, I think, very important that David Cameron made the point on yesterday's announcement of not only sustained development, but increased development in the electronically scanned radar for the Eurofighter Typhoon, which is again an important, I think, commitment by the government, by our government, to seeing the development of this going forward. And these are examples of today's aerospace industry and how it has become and continues to be much more industrialized, much more internationalized. And although the UK will not be building significant aircraft numbers itself, it still manages to retain its place in the top rank of aerospace nations. If we look at why are we looking at basically the importance of the aerospace industry in the UK and what's involved in it? Well, the UK aerospace contributes about 20 billion per year to the UK economy. The GVA for UK aerospace is about 8.5 billion, and that's equivalent to about £76,100 per employee, compared to about 35,000 for the average UK employee. And aerospace is one of the few industrial sectors that shows an actual increase in real value added. And again, just to quote David Cameron yesterday, we were talking about how this is really, really important, not only to the sustaining situation in the UK, but actually how it's actually driving the UK out of recession and into a growth period itself. If we look at the civil aerospace UK is #1 in Europe and #2 in the world, behind only the US, in a market that is growing at twice the rate of GDP. It employs over 100,000 people and generates 20 billion per year to the UK economy. This is, of course, a very competitive market, and our position is under threat from European countries and other emerging nations. Constant investment is essential in the development of skills, processes, and in new technologies. And that's why the announcement yesterday by David Cameron to the Aerospace Growth Partnership is so important for this industry. In fact, just to really quote David Cameron yesterday, he said that from this government, you will see nothing less than an unstinting, unrelenting, unflagging commitment to making the UK the best place in the world for aerospace business to invest, design, manufacture and export. We have never, I can't remember or recall a statement by a Prime Minister, certainly in my involvement in the industry at any one point in time. It is really important that as an industry we put our support and backing to what's going on in the industry itself. For the future, there are niches that the UK could continue to exploit. Its expertise, well known in Airbus of course, in composites, mean that we have a natural lead in some areas of development and repair and maintenance. And this is likely to become more important as the Boeing 787, the A350 and other composite airlines enter service. In UAVs, the UK has been undertaking work with Australia, as we heard in the previous speaker, initiatives to unlock civil aerospace to unmanned aircraft, with the potential to exploit an international market that is worth billions. In the UK defence industry, it represents about 10% of the UK manufacturing. It's #1 in Europe and globally second, again, only to the USA. We employ in the UK and the supply chain about 300,000 people and generate over 35 billion per year to the UK economy. Last night, Vince Cable, in addition to what was said by David Cameron, quoted that the government is committed to the same partnership with industry for growth in defence as it is in civil. Very, very specific reference to what was going on in the defence market in addition to what was civil. And in fact, already in industry, we're actually calling this the Defence Growth Partnership, an acronym that will probably be used for many times over the coming week. And again, it resonates exactly with what we're trying to do. We are in the UK, we're the largest overseas supplier of defence equipment to the United States. The demand from overseas for British-made components, systems and support areas is high because of the innovation that we bring, the quality and the provenance. And in the ever-growing international cybersecurity market, we employ about 50,000 people in the high-tech and service-oriented end of this particular market. Total cybersecurity sales in 2010 in the UK were £361 million. And the UK market alone is now worth about 1.2 billion annually. Northrop Grumman recently announced a multi-billion investment only in cybersecurity. The space sector in the UK is likely to grow from about £8 billion to about £40 billion by 2030, potentially increasing employment from around about 70,000 jobs in the UK now to about 170,000 jobs by 2030. And of course, it's no exaggeration to say that without the space infrastructure, much of our global economy would simply cease to exist. Blackberries, iPhones, iPads, the whole sat-nav situation could not exist without the continued development of the space infrastructure. And our dependence will continue to grow in this particular area. The UK itself, after quite a few years of fallow investment, is now entering a major growth period for space as a leader exporter of satellite-based tools in the developing world. Britain's technology leads in satellite radar, in space software, in small satellites, and military communications, which represents huge export opportunities. And space tourism will be next. I'm not sure if everybody's had the opportunity to walk around the show, but tomorrow sees a major announcement with regard to Virgin and the Galactic Spaceship 2. And I'm sure that Mr. Branson will be delighted to see the amount of exposure that is happening here. This is the next opportunity for space travel, and what happens then. So this is a really important aspect for us within the UK and indeed on an international basis. Despite a number of naysayers and pessimism around the world in terms of the economic uncertainties, and there are, of course, a number of those, and I don't think we should underestimate the impact that the recession and the continued recession is having on the global marketplace. But I think if you look around, many UK companies expect that the world economy is going to double in size over the next decade, with growth anticipated in the next 12 months and ongoing in the next 5-year time frame. And I'm sure that a lot of us reading the newspapers, surfing the web, really don't see that coming through. But if we take a poll of industry within the UK and the markets that we operate internationally, many of the companies are saying that there are opportunities for us to exploit our position. The market for high-value goods and services associated with advanced manufacturing, especially those produced to high environmental standards, is likely to show the most significant increase. And the UK is very well placed to take advantage of such opportunities. We've got well-developed infrastructure of manufacturing companies and supply chains. However, our current position in international markets is under threat. And the responsibility of this decline heavily rests on industry, government, and our education system. And unless we can attract, retain, and motivate the best talent that we can within our sector and within our businesses, we face a daunting future. And that future is unique opportunities, expanding export opportunities, dealing in an international market, and not being able to address that market opportunity because we don't have the skills in place to take advantage of that. So in my mind, we've got 3 problems. First, we have a skills gap. We don't have the required skills in the current workforce. And we are not unique. The UK is not unique. This is an international, and some would say, a global phenomenon that we see. 29% of the UK aerospace companies have skills gaps, and we need a higher level of technical skill. Secondly, employers just can't recruit enough STEM skills. That's science, technology, engineering, and manufacturing. A third of high-tech manufacturing companies have recruited from outside of the UK due to a lack of suitably qualified people resident here. My own company, Atkins, just yesterday we were talking, just sitting in the audience here, but just yesterday we were talking. As it stands at this particular point in time in Atkins, in our aerospace and defence organisation, we have in excess of 150 vacancies for skilled engineering and science graduates that we need to fulfill our requirements on existing contracts. Not on new contracts, but on existing contracts. This is a huge problem. So we have really a dearth of suitably qualified people that we need resident here. And we've gone outside, and Atkins has gone outside of the UK to actually attract this sort of talent that we need. We've got a mismatch between the skills in the market and the skills that we need as employers. Third, many people, like myself, in the engineering workforce will retire soon. Between now and 2000, some people of course say that I've already retired, but that is completely untrue. Between now and 2016, aerospace companies need to recruit about 15,300 people. That's quite specific, but it's around about 15,000 people that we need to recruit. That's about 2,200 people per year, just to recover retirements and to sustain the growth that we're looking at. Among them, 2,900 will be managers, 3,900 will be engineers and scientists, but our talent pipeline that we have to actually refresh and renew that situation is really, really weak. So how can we accelerate the skills development so we meet this need? Our main skills gaps are in the higher level skills, technical skills, leadership and management and productivity and competitiveness. The announcement yesterday by the PM to set up a joint fund of £3 million to fund 500 master's degrees in aerospace is absolutely fantastic news. Again, I think quite unique in this government and in subsequent governments that we've had. It will be overseen by the Royal Academy and the Society, the Royal Aeronautical Society, and tied into and aligned with the outputs that are needed for the aerospace and growth partnership. So it's not about actually just taking and actually encouraging universities and further education to actually fund master's degrees. This is really aligned to the requirements of the industry and aligned to the outputs from the Aerospace Growth Productivity Programme. And of course there's a range of industrial sounding training courses that cover everything from leaderships, management to business improvement techniques. Also, apprenticeships can actually help us to develop higher level technical skills and pave the way for foundation. Employees are really encouraged to now endorse and subscribe to apprenticeship schemes. My own companies, Atkins, Selex Galileo, Marshalls, all train apprenticeships. Having started my career as an apprenticeship, I can personally vouch for actually the benefits that they bring. Now, I'm not saying in any way, shape or form that the apprenticeship program is the only solution to the problem that we face. Far from it. It is not actually the only direction we can take. But apprenticeships are an important factor in the development of the skills that we need. And of course, it isn't going to happen overnight. The UK doesn't compare well internationally. In England, we have 20 apprentices per 1,000 employees, while Australia has 40, Germany 39, and Switzerland 44. Only 20% of aerospace companies have staff undertaking apprenticeships. So actually, the companies that I represent, Atkins, Marshalls, Selex Galileo, they all have apprenticeship schemes, but they are in the minority. We have to encourage more of our companies and SMEs to embrace the benefits associated with the apprenticeship scheme. And there's actually a lot more work that we can be doing in industry and through government and through further education that is going to be able to do. The government have to reduce the bureaucracy. They're listening to what we're saying, but in order for us to encourage SMEs in particular to subscribe to apprenticeship programs, we have to make sure that they are not inundated with red tape and bureaucracy. And too many companies now turn around and say that this is part of the problem that they face. The quality of applicants also needs to improve. And that goes down to basically the education system and what we're doing in terms of primary, junior and further education areas. And we need stability in the system in order to maintain that momentum. There's a real correlation now between what we face in terms of the skills gaps and what has happened in terms of the apprenticeship scheme. About 30 years ago, the apprenticeship program, particularly in engineering, was almost dead. The government actually almost completely really squashed the apprenticeship schemes, and that is damaging us. Germany, on the other hand, continued to invest and see the benefit coming through in terms of the engineering. And already we can see in terms of the stability that they have had in their apprenticeship program, they don't have the same, they have the skills gaps, but they don't have the level of skills gaps that we have in the UK. And that is because the pipeline was constricted by policies that were taken about 20 or 30 years ago. So as well as developing new recruits in the existing workforce, we need to retain the skills that we have in the UK. Vince Cable approached Biz and a number of industrialists in about a year ago to actually form the Skills and Job Retention Group. And under the direction of Biz and Semta, we've launched the Talent Retention Solution, a website that holds details of engineering staff that have been put at risk within the engineering community. By taking on board the people that may be potentially at risk and matching them up with the requirements that we need in the engineering sector that is growing, people like Atkins, people like Marshalls are recruiting, people like Selex Galileo, people like Airbus, people like Nissan, etc. in this particular engineering sector. By matching those skills up with people who are potentially at risk, we can retain that talent within our engineering sector. And that's really, really important for the future. I encourage every organization, every company that is represented in the air show this week to really not only look at what we're doing in the talent retention scheme, but actually sign up. For SMEs, this is zero. This costs zero to get involved in this. But what we find is that we're actually not, we don't have the actual, the number of people in the database to satisfy the requirements of companies like Airbus, Rolls-Royce, in certain cases BAE Systems, because we haven't got the people that are at risk there. Now, that might well be a benefit of where we're seeing in terms of the marketplace, but there are skills mismatches that we really, really do need to fulfill. So creating a talent pipeline of bright young people with STEM, that is science, technology, engineering and mathematics skills, in an area where industry, government and the education system needs a joined-up strategy to develop this level of improvement. 60% of the UK firms are experiencing problems, not only in engineering and manufacturing, I hasten to add, recruiting STEM employees. And the CBI estimates that there will be an extra 2 million jobs requiring STEM skills by 2014. And of course, aerospace has to compete with other sectors for these skills. The numbers studying STEM subjects at GCSE A-level and degree levels are up in recent years, which is a great sign, perhaps down to the Brian Cox effect we see here. But actually, we hope that the message that we're putting forward about this industry can create a real career for young people entering into their sector in terms of developing that and using the skills that they're developed in STEM disciplines that will help us to not only sustain, but to develop the growth that we need. We need to ensure that universities are not reducing the courses that are dedicated to STEM. And again, another plug for the Prime Minister yesterday, his endorsement of what's happening in the MSc courses in aerospace is a fantastic real direction for industry, further education, and the associations to take this on board. But we're going to look at somewhere close to about 1,250 full-time engineering university degree places for UK students offered in the last academic year. And of course, the Royal Aeronautical Society has a very, very important role to play in bringing new talent and encouraging new talent into the industry itself and indeed into our sector. Just a little plug in terms of what's happening in the Royal Aeronautical Society. Through its Careers and Education Department, it offers everything from one-to-one advice to schools programs, careers events, and a website developed jointly with ADS. It's called Careers in Aerospace Live. It's a free annual event at the London headquarters, and it's supported by organisations like Augusta Westland, Atkins, Cobham, Lockheed Martin, and the Royal Navy. The Careers in Aerospace website is being populated all the time with case studies, company details, Ask the Expert forums, and valuable careers guidance. It also showcases exciting initiatives to inspire young people, such as the Schools Build a Plane programme, which really brings STEM subjects to life. Cool Aeronautics, a primary school programme which is based around a day of aerospace-themed talks, which culminates in workshops and aviation place of interest. The Centennial Scholarships, which since 2003 have made 100 awards totaling more than £400,000 to teams and individuals who need support to further their education. And finally, the Society also organises educational outreach programmes such as Ballantine Conference for secondary schools, which this year featured Lotus Formula One team, astronaut training, free pilot aptitude testing sessions, and even a female aerobatic pilot. So hats off to the Royal Aeronautical Society for providing a great female role model at the Ballantine conference. Just on that point, women themselves form about more than half of the UK labour market, but less than a quarter of the science, engineering and manufacturing workforce. 17% of the current vacancies in the UK are due to skill shortages. So why can we not tap into this really important talent pool that we have available? What is it that makes this area of bringing girls, females into our environment that makes it so difficult for us? In Selex Galileo, we're trying to do what we can to actually develop that even more, opening existing programs and taking on board the engineering development technology focus on underrepresented areas. And we've seen a 49% take-up from female students and a 20% increase from ethnic backgrounds. So there are areas, there are pockets of areas within industry where we're addressing this particular area, but we're not doing enough, and we're not attracting the right sort of the talent that we need within this organisation. And women and girls, actually bringing them into the workforce is a very, very important side of this. There's also three important and significant developments that are going to help us and help employers hone the necessary mix of knowledge, practical skills, and the right attitude to improve the talent pipeline. First of all, there's university technical colleges. This is a concept that's been developed by Lord Baker, Ken Baker, an amazing real advocate of skills and the development of education to deal with skills gap. And this is all about providing new colleges for students aged between 14 and 19 to specialise in technical studies and are sponsored by university and industry. They offer full-time courses which combine practical and academic studies. Employers can help plan the learning and the qualifications, and they support work placements. Students can then decide either to go into industry or they can go into universities. There's 18 UTCs have already been announced, and 2 are already open, and several more will open this year. Secondly, higher level apprenticeships offer young people a viable and affordable alternative to universities, where candidates earn while they learn and gain real valuable experience. We need to at least double the number of higher level apprenticeships by 2016 if we are to train up to the number of new recruits that we require at this particular level. And the new higher level apprenticeship for advanced manufacturing and engineering, which was launched this year, helps us to develop this particular program. It's been developed with employers such as Airbus, BAE Systems, GKN that you see here, and of course Rolls-Royce. And the new framework includes a pathway specifically for aerospace. And it can incorporate HNC, HND or foundation degree, leading to an honours degree and professional accreditation, including the EngTech or iEng. SMEs make up about 99, the third one is the employer university links. SMEs make up about 99% of the sector. And amazingly, it never ceases to amaze me, this fact, but amazingly, when you look at the advanced manufacturing and engineering makeup in this country, we have about 80,000 companies involved in advanced manufacturing and engineering. Of those 80,000, 60,000 companies actually employ less than 5 people. So the SME community is huge. But they actually only take into account about 39% of those SMEs actually recruit graduates. You can see the reason why. Smaller companies find it very, very difficult to actually utilize the very small administrations that they have within their organization. Think about it, 5 people in an organization. It isn't very easy to actually really dedicate a very sparse resource involved in universities, getting involved in the various sectors that we need to develop those and make full use of the opportunities that exist actually within the university schemes. So we've got to be able to encourage SMEs to do this. And through Semta, we started a 2-year project that is actually going to increase the number of SMEs who recruit a STEM graduate by improving the employer and university links. And that's really, really important. It started already, and we're already starting to see benefits, and the SMEs are starting to see what associations like Semta can actually do to develop this. But there's much more that we need to do. I think getting the teachers and lecturers much more involved in what we're trying to do, giving them continued development in professional terms. We have to remember that the industry, which is fantastic, is continuing to evolve and develop. And it's evolving and developing at breakneck speed in comparison to what's happening in the education sector. And so therefore, teachers and lecturers need to be educated about what's happening in industry. So the industry have a role to play in continuing development for teachers and lecturers in terms of what we're trying to do. We need to encourage more of our employers to bring real world context into what we're doing in the application of STEM disciplines into schools, universities and colleges. Practical disciplines and roles need greater recognition. such as the technical accreditation which is offered by the Royal Aeronautical Society. And then getting the STEM curriculum and infrastructure right. We hear too often of decrepit engineering facilities and too little hands-on skills development. Bright young people need better careers advice, and they need to be inspired. When you look at it, I think we're in a unique situation. The financial services sector, which we compete with, the aerospace and engineering sector competes very heavily with for graduates coming out of university, are in a particular situation in the UK where their credibility is severely under doubt. We should be making the most of that situation. And we should be telling our youngsters, and we should be telling our career advisors, and we should be telling our employers, and we should be telling our lecturers and the teachers that engineering and aerospace can offer a real career with real opportunities to develop your career and your credentials in an exciting and vibrant encouragement. And there's a lot of good activity going on now. Young engineers, STEM ambassadors, the world skills, Year in Industries, the Big Bang Fair, which over the last 10 years has gone from strength to strength. And of course, this week, on Friday, in Farnborough, hosted by ADS, supported by the Royal Aeronautical Society and Semta, and a number of the SMEs and companies such as Airbus, GKN, Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, of course, is helping to encourage youngsters, colleges, universities, that really this industry has a vibrant future. See Inside Manufacturing is a pilot initiative which was introduced last year to give young people the opportunity to go behind the scenes and see what's happening in our engineering community, in particular, or not in this case in aerospace, but actually in the automotive industry. But of course it has knock-on effects in terms of the engineering and the aerospace and defence sector. Make It in Great Britain campaign will be showcasing the best of British manufacturing at the Science Museum during this summer's Olympics. And the UKTI in particular has a Make It in Britain dedicated day towards encouraging companies from outside of the UK to continue to invest in the UK defence and aerospace industries. So that's another important aspect. But the skills development isn't just about the talent pipeline. Almost 24,000 of the current aerospace and technical workforce is qualified below world-class standards. And this is why companies like Atkins, Selex Galileo, Airbus are looking outside of the UK, because we really don't have the accredited people that we need to support the growth initiatives that we've got. This isn't good for business and needs to be urgently addressed. Organisations like the Royal Aeronautical Society and Semta are very keen and willing to help. The Society is licensed by the Engineering Council to register candidates as chartered, the CEng, or incorporated IEng, engineers and engineering technicians. And in support of this, the Society is licensed to accredit academic programs that provide the exemplifying level of understanding, knowledge, and skills that actually underpin the professional competence that help graduates on their way to professional registration. So as well as providing the guidance and continuing professional development at all levels, the Society operates MyPath, which is a free online logbook which records the progress through the professional development against competencies for engineering tech, IEng and CEng. So finally, our industry, as exemplified by the Society, takes skills very, very seriously. And it invests millions every year, rightly so. This is a wake-up call. If we don't fix the lack of skilled workers, we won't be able to rebalance the UK economy. Fortunately, we have a government, as Robin Southwell said earlier on this morning, that is prepared to listen and operate and take steps to correct this rebalance. If we don't fix the lack of skilled workers, we will not be able to take advantage of the emerging technologies that we see. The industry, careers, and shows like Farnborough will not be able to develop and grow the way that they should. We can take ownership of the skills agenda. We can invest in apprenticeships. We can upskill our current workforce. While it's the government's responsibility to ensure young people leave school and further education with the right qualifications, it's in employers' interests to make sure that we're telling them what we need. We've got to get more involved with schools, colleges and universities to ensure that young people actually develop the right skills and attitudes that we need. And we can champion our industry to attract young people to develop STEM careers. Of course, the change that I'm talking about takes time. So there's no better time than now. I'm glad to see that we're already seeing the development of this coming through. Apprenticeships is one area, UTCs is another, STEM subjects development, the announcements yesterday are all very important. There isn't anything more important on the agenda, as far as I'm concerned, in aerospace and defence companies that we need in order to protect, develop, retain, motivate the talent that we need in engineering. So if you want to visit the Society, they're on stand 21 in the Innovation Zone. I think that's in here. And you can see one thing that I think we have some feedback forms that we'd like you to fill in terms of what we're doing in the Innovation Forum, the zone itself. It's the first year that we've done this, and we tried running a briefing while doing the Farnborough show. So we're keen to get your feedback on what we can do better in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you.